Ashley Wadsworth packed her bags and flew more than 4,000 miles from Canada to the United Kingdom for one reason: love. At just 19 years old, she thought she was finally going to meet the person who had been part of her life for years, a boyfriend she had known online since childhood, a man who had promised affection, commitment, and a future that sounded almost too beautiful to doubt. To Ashley, this trip was supposed to feel like the beginning of a real-life fairy tale. A new country. A new chapter. A relationship she had waited years to experience face-to-face. But the version of Jack Seppel she knew through messages, calls, gifts, and promises was not the whole truth. Because once Ashley arrived in the UK, the romance she had imagined began to shift. The smiles slowly faded. The control became harder to ignore. And the relationship she had crossed the world for became something she needed to survive. Ashley traveled across the world for love. But the person waiting for her was hiding something dark. Welcome to Midnight Dark Cases, where we uncover true stories of love, betrayal, obsession, and relationships that turned deadly. And in this case, what began as an online connection filled with promises slowly became something far more dangerous. A romance Ashley had waited years to experience turned into a relationship she desperately needed to escape. Before Ashley Wadsworth became a name connected to a heartbreaking true crime case, she was a young woman with plans, dreams, and a future she was working hard to build. Ashley was from Vernon, Canada, and those who knew her remembered a girl who was bright, focused, and full of ambition. She was not someone drifting through life without direction. She cared deeply about her education, took her future seriously, and had the kind of discipline that made people believe she could become whatever she set her heart on. She loved learning, but she was not defined by school alone. Ashley enjoyed skiing, traveling, meeting people, and experiencing life beyond the familiar places around her. She had a curious spirit, a warm personality, and a desire to see more of the world. She also had a gift for languages, speaking English, French, and Spanish. For someone so young, Ashley already carried herself like a person preparing for a life much bigger than the one she had known. She wanted adventure. She wanted love. She wanted a future that felt meaningful. At one point, Ashley planned to continue her education and build a career in law, a path that showed just how much she believed in growth, purpose, and possibility. Ashley was not just a girl in an online relationship. She was a daughter, a student, a dreamer, and someone with an entire future ahead of her. Ashley's connection with Jack Seppel did not begin in person. It began online. She was young when they first started talking, and Jack lived thousands of kilometers away in the United Kingdom. On paper, the distance should have made their relationship feel impossible. But through messages, photos, videos, and late-night conversations, the world between Canada and England began to feel smaller. Over time, Jack became more than just someone Ashley spoke to through a screen. He became part of her daily life. He knew how to make her feel special. He sent gifts. He made promises. He talked about a future together. And for Ashley, those years of communication created something that felt deep, familiar, and real. To her, Jack was not a stranger anymore. He was someone she trusted. Someone she cared about. Someone she believed had been waiting for her just as much as she had been waiting for him. But there was another side of Jack that Ashley did not fully know. Behind the affection, behind the promises, and behind the online image he had built, Jack had a history that should have raised serious alarms. According to case details, he had previous convictions connected to domestic violence, and former partners had reportedly sought protection from him. Ashley did not travel to the UK knowing the full danger. She thought she was moving closer to love. But in reality, she was stepping into the life of a man with a violent past she had never truly been warned about. When Ashley finally arrived in the United Kingdom, the beginning seemed almost exactly like the life she had pictured. She and Jack spent time together. They traveled around, took photos, visited places, and shared moments online that made everything look happy from the outside. To anyone scrolling past their pictures, it may have seemed like a young couple enjoying a long-awaited romance after years of distance. They even got a kitten together, a small sign of the life Ashley thought they were building. For a while, it looked like the dream had come true. But behind the smiling photos, something was changing. The version of Jack Ashley had known online began to feel different in person. The kindness she expected slowly gave way to control. Arguments became more frequent. His mood could shift quickly, and Ashley began seeing sides of him that frightened her. She was far from Canada, far from her family, and living inside his apartment. That made everything more difficult. Leaving was not as simple as walking away from a bad date or ending a conversation online. Ashley was in another country, under the same roof as him, trying to understand how the relationship she had waited years for had become so painful. According to the case details, Ashley began saving recordings of their arguments. She also took photos of injuries, quietly keeping evidence of what was happening around her. That alone says a lot. She was no longer just disappointed. She was afraid. The fairytale Ashley had traveled for was slowly turning into something she needed to survive. By early February 2022, Ashley had finally reached the point where hope was no longer enough to keep her there. The dream she had traveled for had become too heavy. The relationship felt unsafe, the arguments were getting worse, and the young woman who had once flown to the UK with excitement was now focused on only one thing: going home. For Ashley's family, the decision brought relief. They had worried about her being so far away. They had sensed that something was not right. And when Ashley decided she wanted to return to Canada, her grandmother quickly booked a flight for February 3, 2022. Ashley was almost out. Her ticket was booked. Her family was waiting. But she would never make that flight. On February 2, just one day before she was supposed to leave, Ashley sent messages to friends saying she was in trouble and needed help. She gave them the address and asked them to come get her. Then, later, another message came from her main account saying everything was fine. But something about it felt wrong. Her friends knew Ashley. They knew her situation. They knew she had been trying to leave. And the message did not feel like the Ashley they knew. So they went to check on her. When they arrived and no one opened the door, the fear grew stronger. Someone could be heard moving inside. But Ashley did not come out. That was when police were called. Ashley was almost out. Her flight was booked. Help was coming. But time was running out. When police arrived at Jack Seppel's apartment, the situation was already tense. Ashley's friends had come because they were worried. They had received a message that did not feel like her, and after everything Ashley had been going through, they could not ignore that feeling. Officers tried to get Jack to open the door. But he refused. And when he would not let them in, police forced their way inside. What they found confirmed the fear Ashley's friends had felt from the beginning. Ashley was inside the apartment. She was only 19 years old. And she was pronounced dead that afternoon. Jack Seppel was arrested, and the evidence quickly began pointing back to him. Investigators recovered the weapon, found forensic evidence connected to the scene, and later, Jack pleaded guilty. During the trial, prosecutors believed Ashley had been preparing to leave the relationship for good. She had a flight booked. She wanted to return home. And in their view, the thought of losing control over her triggered the final attack. Ashley had crossed the world for what she believed would be a love story. But she was killed just before she could come home. Jack Seppel was sentenced to life in prison, with the possibility of parole after 23 years and 6 months. But even the longest sentence could never return what was taken. It could not give Ashley back the future she had been working toward. It could not bring her home to Canada. It could not erase the pain carried by her parents, her family, her friends, and everyone who loved her. Ashley was only 19. She was a daughter, a student, a traveler, a young woman who wanted to see the world, continue her education, and build a meaningful life for herself. Her story should never be reduced to the person who harmed her. Ashley Wadsworth should not be remembered only for how her life ended. She should be remembered as a young woman who believed in love, crossed the world with hope, and deserved to come home safely. This has been Midnight Dark Cases. If this story moved you, subscribe for more true crime documentaries that look beyond the headlines and remember the lives behind the cases.